hosting this beautiful event. Everyone give a round of applause. For those of you who don't know me, as I said, my name is Alex Wolf, and known Mike for about 9 years now. We met in the summer before 3rd grade. We met playing out on the street, as kids usually do. And basically, we've pretty much just only been friends this whole time because he lived next to me. It's just a friendship of convenience. We don't like each other. I remember the first day we met each other. We decided it'd be a good idea to find the most powerful fan I had in my house and see what happens when you throw various objects into it on the highest setting. So like marbles, Legos, pens and pencils. And after that happened, I knew we were going to be friends for a very long time. It's also, knowing Mike as long as I've known that even many years ago, before I even knew Wendy, I was going to have to give this speech one day. He thought I'd have done more preparing. When me and Mike were growing up, we used to hang out, spend the night at each other's house, and we were trying to get our parents to let us go out toilet papering one time. But they wouldn't let us stay out as late as we wanted, because we were just in middle school. So we hatched a plan. Do you remember this? The plan was, we stay in a tent outside on my trampoline, and that way we can sneak out of the house in the middle of the night, grab our toilet paper, which we had stored one by one for months at a time in the trash bag, and dominate the night. Of course, we went out there, and we got 5 minutes into it, teaching a local girl's house, when her dad came out and caught us, and we just ran. We left about 3 trash bags full of toilet paper that we didn't use at the house, free for them. And by the way, our parents don't know about that story. But I think they wouldn't be that surprised. It was also a couple years later, after Mike had come back from college, we were living together. And Mike used to go to bed a couple hours earlier than me. He had to get up a little earlier. And there was one night in particular I remember, and will always remember, when I came up to it, and he usually slept with the door open. And this time the door was closed for some strange reason. So I opened the door, and I feel like a hot breath hit me as I walked in. And I also noticed that the window was closed, and apparently, to put it delicately, Mike had ate something with him earlier that day that had not sat well with him. And he had spent the last couple hours laying in bed, filling the room with his
Nice story, Alex.
Now, sometimes where I had trouble falling asleep because it's noisy, or because I'm not tired, or because it's too hot or too cold. This is the only time I had trouble falling asleep just in the sleep. I keep laughing the whole time, enjoying my misery. A couple years later, he was living up in Encinitas, and he told me he had been talking to a girl on Facebook, via the Facebook chat. .com, that's right. I thought it was strange she was telling me about all of this. Like, I didn't really see much of it. I certainly didn't think we'd be here today. But gradually, their conversation grew more and more. They would text, they would call, they would write, sometimes mail each other things, send each other messages. You know, there's a lot of people out there who say that long-distance relationships can't work. Well, Mike and Wendy spit in the face of those people. And then eventually there came a time when Mike told me he was going to move up to Idaho, away from beautiful San Diego. Now, I was sad about this because I felt like I had really missed out being with Mike the 4 years he was away with college. My best friend. I never got to see him. And now he'd come back into town only for a couple years, and I felt like I was going to lose him again. So, at first I didn't want him to go. Who would want their best friend to go after not having seen him for so long? Then what happened is, on one of my trips down here, I met her. And my opinion completely changed. I pulled him aside and said, hey man, you gotta go right away, as fast as you can. Get on the plane, don't wait for a second. This girl is amazing. Wendy is perfect for Mike, and I say that having known him for as long as I had, and having conversations with him many times about girls, and knowing his personality very well. Now, I can talk about how beautiful Wendy is. But it's obvious. We all know. All you need to do is be in a room when she walks in, and you already know how attractive she is. But my favorite thing about Wendy, personally, is how kind and nice she is. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met, sincerely. And if I were to make a list of things you're looking for to spend the rest of your life with someone, those things would be right at the top. I got to be in a very unique, special position a couple years later when I got a phone call from Mike, and I got to be the second person on the planet to know that Mike was going to ask Wendy to marry her. I've never felt so happy for someone else in my entire life, something that didn't affect me at all. I was just so proud of my best friend for doing that. And you know, Mike, some would say, the negative person would say that Mike hasn't had a ton of dating experience with women. But I would say he's just extremely picky. Wendy's kindness and grace and understanding is exactly what Mike needs in his life. And I also want to say we can all learn a lesson from Mike and Wendy's relationship. And that when they first started out, it wasn't easy for them. They had to put a lot of work and effort to it. They had to make sure they would take trips at the right time. They had to make sure they called and spoke to each other. And it wasn't easy. It's not like in a movie when you see someone across a crowded room and you get involved in a whirlwind romance. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So I want to say that Mike and Wendy, this had nothing to do with fate. You guys made it. You did it yourself. And I just want everyone to know there is no fate but what we make for ourselves. And these two are proof of that. So I want to raise a glass to Mike and Wendy. May your love last until the sun burns out.
Great job, Alex.